off mute there. Yep. All right.
How's it going, everybody? Thank you for having me today.
All righty, folks. Thank you. Thanks, Coach Barnes, for joining us. Let's start it out with Dan Hope from 11 Warriors. Dan.
Hey, Matt, you are taking over as secondary coach this year. Just want to know what's that transition been like for you, and kind of how do you think that this new arrangement between you and Kerry can ultimately lead to improvement on the back end?
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Dan. It's been great. I've really enjoyed it so far. I mean, I really enjoyed the opportunity to be involved with special teams, and I will remain involved in special teams, but I'm just really passionate about coaching defense. So for me, I've really enjoyed the opportunity to kind of dive headfirst into defense. Kerry and I have worked in chorus, through this transition, and Kerry remains to be very involved with our defensive backs. But I think, maybe helping him, because the back end is so heavily involved. I think maybe taking some of that, alleviating some of that stress or time spent allows him to really dive into the coordinator role and see some things that when you're immersed in the defensive backfield, you maybe don't see the whole picture quite as well, type of thing. But I think hopefully it's allowed him to have some more time to really focus on the coordinating.
Thanks, Matt.
All righty, let's go next to Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Hey, Matt, we've just been trying to figure out exactly who's been working out where at some of those spots, just because there seems to be sometimes some crossover and sometimes not. Who right now is in the mix at slot cornerback? And is there still a big differentiation in your mind between someone like Lathan Ransom, who will, was playing nickel last year? Can he be involved at slot corner? Do you still see, is there a big difference between those two positions?
And this is not the answer that you guys are going to want to hear, but we're so far from a depth chart right now, so far from locking guys into positions. I mean, you can ask the players. I mean, we don't even watch defenses when we meet. We just watch techniques and we teach concepts. And, like right now, Lathan has played every position in the secondary this spring, and he's not the only one. It's really just an emphasis in effort, technique, concepts, rather than honing in right now. And I guess it's April now, but we got a long way to go before we got to line up and have a game plan and go play the game. So right now it's concepts, it's techniques. It's becoming great football players.
All righty, next we'll go to Bill Landis from The Athletic.
Hey, Matt. I guess along those same lines, like where has Cam Martinez been working? Like he seems like a guy's a skill set who can move around to a bunch of spots too. Just what are his strengths right now, and what do you like? What do you like from what you've seen from him?
Well, I'll tell you this about Cam Martinez: you can't sit in a meeting without hearing great things about him right now. Whether that's strength and conditioning, our nutritionist brags about him, our training staff brags about him. I just 5 minutes ago walked out of a special teams meeting where Coach Fleming was bragging on how well he's done in special teams. Cam has really put his head down and gone to work since this past season ended, and he's got to be one of the most improved guys so far that we've seen. He's played inside, he's played outside. He'll play true safety for us. Again, we're really just diving into techniques and concepts right now.
All righty, we'll go next to Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Matt.
Bill,
you have everyone has a different personality than Kerry, I guess. He's just so kind of electric out there. You have a more, I think, understated style. How does that? How would you compare your style? And is that kind of a weird thing to know that the guy that you're, I don't want to say replacing, because he's obviously still there, has a very different style? And how would you describe your style with the players?
Well, let me brag on Kerry's style for a minute, man. I admire his energy. I admire, he sees everything in practice. He's all over it. He's unbelievable. He does a fantastic job. And I'm with you. I'm probably a bit more reserved. I'm a little bit more animated maybe on the practice field. But I think we work really well together. I think we play off of each other. You asked about my style. My style is more matter of fact. I just want you to get my corrections, and I don't want, I want you to hear what I'm saying and not necessarily how I'm saying it. So I just want to make sure that I'm communicating as clearly as I can.
All righty, next up, we'll go to Patrick Murphy. Patrick.
Hey, Matt. One of the things Ryan made very clear to us was continuity with promoting you and promoting Parker. He talked about the special teams and keeping language all the same. I'm just curious how you have gone about that and what that process has been like from your perspective after we kind of heard Ryan harp on it a little bit early on in the spring.
Yeah, and I wish you guys could have just been in our special teams meeting. It was elite. It was one of the best meetings I've ever been in. I think Parker Fleming is an outstanding football coach. I don't think he's good. I don't think he's great. I think he's elite. And that's kind of been something that maybe is a little bit different that we do here. 2 years ago I really tried to emphasize, and it's just kind of gain momentum and gain momentum and gain momentum. And Parker's really taken it and run with it. It's sort of just learning football through the kicking game. It's not punt, it's not punt block, it's not kickoff, it's not kickoff return. It's football. Avoiding a block is avoiding a block. It doesn't matter where that block occurs. Whatever it may be. So we're really just trying to learn the game, through kicking, and Parker's done an outstanding job. And that's something that's come from the top down with Coach Day, is making sure that we're speaking the same language. And again, it just goes in course with concepts teaching, and it's really difficult, I think, as a player to learn, 1,000 different scenarios. But if we can boil them down to, 10, 15, 20 different situations that a player would find himself in, whether it's offense, defense, or kicking game, then I think you've got a chance to take those coaching points and apply them.
Next, we'll go to Tony Gerdeman, Buckeye Scoop. Tony.
Hey, Matt, we talked a week or so ago, and you mentioned the bullet. I'm wondering how much you expect the bullet to be involved in the defense this year, and who's getting some time there. Have you guys even gotten to that point yet in spring?
Yeah, Tony, great question. We're sort of working through it. Again, it's really the emphasis right now, and I know everybody wants to know scheme and depth, and I believe me, I get it, and we'll be there. When we go play Minnesota, obviously we're going to have to put a first group out there and decide what personnel we want on the field. But is it bullet or is it a Sam? Hard to say. I don't know. It is what it is right now. It's just it's this guy or that guy, depending. But that's right now our emphasis is playing blocks, running to the ball, tackling, those types of things. So yeah, we want to have the flexibility to be multiple when we need to be multiple. But right now it's really just about playing the game and developing.
Alrighty, next up, Austin Ward, Letterman Row.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Austin.
With what Ryan Watts and Legend missed, I guess, from just the challenges of last year, how significant is that in your mind? What exactly did they maybe miss out on, and what does that mean for taking them or getting them up to speed this spring?
Austin, that's such a great question. And I think to highlight pardon me, you can tell spring ball is starting to catch up with me a little bit, but just to highlight those two guys, I don't think, I think you could really you put the whole team in that. There's a handful of guys that are really, really veteran guys that maybe didn't need quite as much development, but really it's a young roster. It's a young team. And in our room and every room, there's so many guys that missed out on the opportunity to develop last spring and ended through the summer because it was just so unorthodox with COVID. So, and I keep coming back to its concepts, its techniques, its effort, it's playing the game. And that's not my thing. That's from Coach Day. And that's why, because, we missed out on so much of that time that, we'll get the scheme. You can teach scheme on the board and in meetings and through film, you can teach scheme. But how do you teach a guy to get off a block? You put him in a situation where he's got to get off a block. I mean, there's no substitute for putting your hands on somebody and getting off a block, So yeah, it's not just those two guys. It's the whole roster that really missed a lot of that development. So we're really concentrated, focused on just developing those guys, all these guys.
All righty, next up, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Hey, Matt. Before you took over this job back when you were the assistant defensive backs coach and special teams coach, how involved were you in the defensive back recruiting in comparison to what you are obviously now? I know Jansen Dunn was completely you, but outside of that, how involved were you?
You know, one thing I think we do a great job of here is sort of recruiting as a team, you know, as a program. So for me to sit here and say I recruited even Jansen Dunn, I mean, I'd love to sit here and say I did this, I did that. I didn't. I played a role in it. But one, the program sells itself. Two, you know, if you sit down on the couch with Coach Day and have a conversation, you would want to be a Buckeye as well. I mean, he's an unbelievable human being. Again, the place sells itself. Coach Coombs is arguably one of the greatest recruiters in college football history. So, you know, I think one of the things that I do well is realize who I am, and I'm not super well known and those types of things, and I'm okay with that. So what I try to do is facilitate a lot of conversation with people who are, you know, a little bit more brand recognizable and those types of things. You know, I make emphasis where I can make emphasis. But, you know, if I'm involved in recruiting a defensive lineman, I'm going to Larry Johnson. You know, that's and I could care less who if I get a tick mark on the internet for it or not. I just if it's a guy I think can help our program, I'm going to do whatever I can do to get him. And frequently for me that entails involving other members of our program.
Nice. All righty, this will be the last question for Coach because we got Josh Proctor ready for you. So we'll go to Brendan Gulick. Brendan.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Brendan.
Hey, curious how much time, or maybe time's not the right word, how much you enjoy and relish the teaching aspect of this time of year. You made it pretty clear that it's a lot about techniques. It's a lot about, you know, working with certain guys on fundamental stuff. How much of that part of your job is really fun for you and something you look forward to?
Man, what a great question, Brendan. I've just about every day that I've gone home, my wife has asked me, how's your day? And I'm like, just glowing, man. I just love it. You know, I love the season. I love to compete. I love the game plan. But it's a different time right now. You know, there's not as much pressure. It's not as game plan oriented. It's just about the game. And man, you don't know a guy that loves the game more than I do. So, you know, for me, just to right now focus on teaching the game. Like I love football. I love to teach the game. And you can ask JP when he gets up here, man. We watch very few plays. We really do. Everything is concepts and techniques. And I really take a lot of pride in my teaching and in setting up my meetings and trying to be creative and engaging in those types of things. So yeah, great question. But I to say that I've enjoyed it would be drastically understating it. So
great.
Hey, can we get if I don't know how to mute myself, but if Jeremy's got a question, I'd like to answer his question if we can.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Thanks, Matt. My question is about Denzel Burke. I mean, we talk about Cam Martinez and the development from a year ago to now, from a kid who played offense primarily in high school to playing the defensive backfield. Denzel was a wide receiver for the most part at Saguaro and played a little bit of DB. Coming in early with some guys that maybe would be in the rotation not going this spring. How important has it been for Denzel, and what have you guys seen out of him?
It's actually uncanny how natural he does a lot of things at corner for not having played there very much. You know, I don't know if it's 7-on-7 development or he just had a trainer or somebody that he worked with, but he does a lot of things naturally very well. It's been fun to watch. He has elite feet, footwork, and patience that you don't see from many people, regardless of their age, but particularly for a young guy to sit at the line of scrimmage and have the patience that he has to play press technique and you know, some other techniques that you wouldn't he looks seasoned. I'll put it that way, JB. He's been a very, not that we're surprised but I am to a degree just kind of blown away by how far along he looks at times. Now he's still got a long way to go. Don't get me wrong, but he looks pretty natural in there. So really excited about him.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Coach Barnes. Really appreciate your time.
Got it.
And we'll bring in Josh Proctor here in just a sec.